Welcome to the Carriker Chronicles, the People Show. Checking the polls. Husker Nation brought to you by DPS Concrete Construction. Check them out at dpsconstruction.net. Also, carrikerchronicles.com. It's where all your Husker sports hopes and dreams will come true. It's just science, ladies and gentlemen. All right, we're doing something on the show today I haven't done in a long time. Doing lots of stuff this fall I haven't done in a long time, from whiteboard work to bringing on all sorts of, I think, pretty fun interviews from ESPN host to former ESPN host. Thursday, I'll be joined by USA Today sports reporter and UCLA insider for the UCLA prediction show, etc. So if you haven't done so yet, hit the subscribe button, ring that notification bell. Last Sunday's Sunday night show was honestly a doozy. Thursday, I think it's going to be Thursday morning, my prediction show. Whenever it goes out, ring the notification bell so you don't miss it. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. Also, if you're like me, and I'm not saying that Nebraska has to beat UCLA, but they really need to beat UCLA. But if you're like me, okay, and you are 1,000% on board with the fact that Nebraska needs to play versus the Bruins like they played last Saturday versus Ohio State, and they'll probably win, smash that like button. Ladies and gentlemen, we got 10 people who work here at the Carriker Chronicles. I gave them a task, okay? I put out some stuff on my social media, asked for fans to send in questions. You can also always do it on the website, carrikerchronicles.com as well. And I said, I want no particular number. I don't care if it's 5 or 25, okay? I want you to give me, I know what the questions are now, so I had some time to prep, but I didn't know at first. I want you to pick out the most frequently asked questions, the most interesting questions, and the most difficult questions. And there's a couple on here that are quite interesting. Look ahead. Matt Rhule's ceiling. What's his ceiling as a coach? That's one. Tony White being a head coach possibly next year. All right, what are my thoughts on that? Don't put it out in the universe, Adam. We can bury our heads. It's still out there at some point. All right, college football officials. Should they have press conferences after games too? There's a Dylan Raiola loaded question at the end. And Glenn Thomas potentially calling offensive plays? What do I think about that potential thing happening? All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's light this candle. Question number one. This is via the website, carrikerchronicles.com. What is Matt Rhule's ceiling as a coach? I thought this was a phenomenal question. All right, now the obvious answer is undefeated, national champs. That's everyone's ceiling as a coach, right? But beyond that, okay, what has he shown us? He's a good program builder. He's a good football coach. I don't know if he's a great football coach. I've said that since the day he got hired here. When people were like, oh my gosh, he's a 500 coach and this and that. He's a good football coach. He's a good program builder. I don't know if he's great, okay? Because he's never stayed anywhere long enough. Temple, have they ever been good at football outside of when he was there? The job he did there was awesome. Baylor, what he did there may be even more impressive. After Art Briles built them up, then the sexual assault scandals, all the sanctions that came down, my Lord, he asked his dad to come live with him because his dad was a high school football coach, and they shared his office at Baylor for a while he was the head coach. They were trying to build that program back up. He's shown that he's a program builder and a good coach. I don't know if he's great. He's never stayed anywhere long enough to prove if he's great. Here are some facts. Rhule is 32-5 in his career versus teams who finished the regular season 500 or with losing records. He's 11-40 versus teams with winning records. He's never beaten a Power 4 ranked team. Yes, we're aware of his record versus ranked teams, etc., etc. But like I mentioned, once he builds someone up, he hasn't stayed there, so we don't know what it looks like at that point. Now, shout out to @Skurs News on X. They sent me some of those stats, so give them a follow if you would like. As I mentioned, his career coaching record is 57-53. He's exactly 10-10 at Nebraska right now. His ceiling, what has he shown us in the past? His ceiling is 9, 10, or 11 wins. 9 wins may be equal to 10 or 11 wins in the AAC and the Big 12. 9 wins may be equal to that here in the Big 10. Obviously, ultimately, we'd like to be competing for championships down the road at some point as well. All right, keep in mind, it took Osborne. Matt Rhule's still a young coach. He's only 49 years old. It took Osborne 6 seasons. Of course, Osborne, I believe, was 32 when he became the head coach. I'd have to go back and double check that. 6 seasons to beat Oklahoma is how many years it took him. And 22 years to win his first national championship. Now, things are different now. NIL, transfer portal, expectations, timelines have been sped up. Okay, how does this all play out? My thoughts are, I believe Matt Rhule will build us up. I think it's going to be a wild ride. I think there's going to be ups. I think there's going to be downs. Look back to Indiana and Ohio State, right? Okay, I think it's going to be a wild ride, and I'm here for it. Sometimes puzzle pieces do have to be moved around in the process. All right, next question. The BA Coaches Show. I'm going to go through some of these fairly quickly, but I want to get to them. All right, this is via X. Why is perimeter blocking still such a huge issue this deep into the season, and what do you think should be done about it? Blocking is want to. Obviously, size, strength, all that stuff, how much you weigh helps. Blocking is want to, especially on the perimeter. Either you want to or you don't. It doesn't matter if you're a 4th grader, 8th grader, high school, NFL, college. It's want to. You got to want to do it. Why do Indiana's receivers appear to want to do do it more. You got to get the guys on the field in the appropriate times when we're running screenplays that want to do these things. Next up, oh man, I forgot about this one. At Black Shirt Media on X, who wears it better? Me or James Williams? So here's the deal. My immediate response to this was, well, if John Hall, the kicker, keeps making 57, 54 yarders, 47 yarders, going 3 for 3 on the day, kicking field goals, I'm gonna say he wears it better. If James Williams is getting 2 sacks in a game, I'm gonna say he wears it better. John Hall's number 90 as well, by the way. I've lost 30 pounds. Okay, I went from 300 to 270 June 1st to now, so I'm happy with that. But if those guys are playing well, they can I will happily say they wear it better. All right, at Husker Army Pod on X, do you believe the team turned a corner after the Indiana debacle, then taking number 4 Ohio State down to the wire 1 week later? We might look back and say that that was a turning point. Sometimes, because Matt Rhule said that was, I forget the exact words he used, but the most tumultuous, the darkest week since he's been here was the week after Indiana heading into Ohio State. Getting your butt kicked and going into a game where everyone expected you to get your butt kicked, and then the team responded the way they did. That might turn out to be a turning point. Yes, you want to win. Talked about it a million times. But that might be a turning point because you could see a mental shift in certain things, certain players, in and around this team. So that might have been a turning point. We'll look back one day and we may talk about that. All right, this is via X as well. Why is nobody questioning the poor offensive line play? I've talked about the offensive line play quite a bit. They're better at pass protecting. They're not run blocking as well. I went from using the P word for years with this offensive line because we have highly recruited guys. We have big guys, okay? The P word is potential. The ability to do great things, but you haven't done anything just yet. You haven't done great things just yet. Going into this season, I started using the E word, expectations, because not only highly recruited guys, not only big guys, experienced guys, the 5th most experienced offensive line in the entire country, the only assistant coach who's been here more than 2 years, Donovan Raiola, this is his 3rd year. I use the word expectations, the E word, okay? Why aren't people talking more about the offensive line play, good, bad, or indifferent? Because the offense as a whole, the wide receivers aren't getting separation, the run game isn't great. Who's our running back? It appears to be Dante Dowdell. Should it have been Emmett? I don't know. Okay, everyone's obviously gonna talk about the quarterback position, the 92 screenplays. There's a lot going on with the offense. I think that's why. All right, next question here. This is via X as well. Why are the fullbacks not being played? All right, so we have one fullback on the roster, or at least listed on the depth chart, Barrett. He's been lost for the year, 6 to 8 weeks, broke a bone in his back. That just sounds painful. Speedy recovery, my friend. All right, next up, when are you going to join the coaching staff? I forgot about a couple of these. Random story. Mike Riley's 2nd season, the defensive line coach was either fired, let go, didn't come back. I actually had a brief conversation with people down there about me potentially being the D-line coach. Obviously it didn't happen, but that was years ago at this point. It's interesting though. I love what I do. That's number one. 10 years, I love this. You build something up with the help of people that you love together and you build something like this. I've walked away from USA Today. I was asked to cover the team out in DC by USA Today at one point. The Big Ten, I walked away from a Big Ten show. I've walked away from multiple things because I love doing this. That's number one. Number two, if I became a coach down there, there's some coaches that love me. Tony White, Pot Rose, Coach Knight, and Corey Campbell, the strength coach. There's an offensive coach, maybe 2, I don't know, that don't seem to be my biggest fans. They don't seem to appreciate my honest thoughts, I guess. The only thing I don't know how they'd respond, but the only thing I would say, well, you got my number. I mean, so anyways, I digress. That's a fun question. All right. That was via Facebook. This is now via Facebook. What needs to happen to get better refereeing in college football? Seems like it's pretty bad across the country. Tired of seeing the refs influence the outcome of not just our games, but most games in general. One thing I've never liked this until this year because the refereeing has gotten so bad. Post-game, press conferences with officials being held accountable just like players and just like coaches. I would have never thought that was a good idea before. I not only think it's a good idea, I think it's a borderline must at this point because their calls are dictating the outcome of not just Nebraska games, Big Ten games, but games from across college football. I included that in my last show on Sunday night. There was a Kentucky player. His face mask was ripped off. He was basically beheaded. There was face mask called on the play on the Kentucky player. What? Press conferences for referees. I would have hated that idea. I don't hate it anymore. Just a thought. Maybe it's still a bad idea. All right, Trevor McDaniel. Is the team that played Saturday going to be the same each week for the remainder of the season, or does that team that played Indiana come out in another game? Again, it's going to be a wild ride. It's a building process that Rhule's trying to do here. Consistency. Consistency is the hardest thing to find. Okay, there's lots of talented players in this world. There's lots of guys with speed and height. They're not hard to find, honestly. Good players who are willing to work hard and show up day in and day out when you don't feel good, when you're beat to crap, when you're tired, when you're exhausted, when everybody's beating you down after you lost by 49 points to a basketball school who turns out to be pretty good at football this year. It's not so easy. Consistency, I have discovered, is the hardest thing that will take you from being not average to average, average to good, good to great, and great to elite. So consistency is the hardest thing. And right now, I'm going to go back to those words, wild ride. I don't know what to expect. I really don't. And I'm here for it, ladies and gentlemen. All right, looking at where we are, another Facebook question. You predicted 8-4 before the year. Do you think we can still get there? This is a 2-for-1, because the next one is, what's your prediction for the last 4 games? Win out, win 1 game out of 4, 2 out of 4, or 3 out of 4. So my last chance to change my prediction for the Huskers' final record was at the bye week. I did it last spring, 8-4. I tried to change it before the season, never even did a prediction show before the season because I still came to 8-4. I gave myself a chance to update it at the bye week. It still came out to 8-4. That was my last chance to change it. I'm stuck with 8-4 now. If I could change it, what would I predict? I think we're going to win 2 of these last 4 games. Now, I don't know. I haven't looked at UCLA in depth just yet, so I don't have my official prediction. I know we're favored, and I feel like it's almost a must win, but I'll tell you more about that in my prediction show that goes out, I believe, Thursday morning. I should finalize that when it's going to go out. Either Wednesday night, Thursday morning. Anyways, I digress. But UCLA, USC, Iowa, Wisconsin. I said in my last show they had a combined record of 16-7. That math doesn't even add up. I misspoke. It was 16-17. 16 wins, 17 losses combined. I'm going to predict we're going to win 2 of those games and finish the year 8-4 because I'm stuck with 8-4, but I'm still going to predict we're going to win 2 of those games. That math doesn't add up either, but I hope the lack of logic does. I digress. We're going to win 2 of 4. I'm just stuck with my 8-4 prediction. That's what I'm predicting now. All right, this next question is via TikTok. Tony White, do you believe he'll be a head coach next year? Now, this is a 2-time Broyles Award nominee, so he's nominated to be the top assistant coach in the entire country twice, including last year at Nebraska, once at Syracuse. He was named the non-Power 4 Recruiter of the Year and 2-time Mountain West Conference Recruiter of the Year. This dude can recruit. He's a good coach. Ironically, there's always a silver lining. I don't care how dark the cloud is. Ironically, he's probably still going to get looks. And I already did the interview with the USA Today sports reporter, UCLA Insider. UCLA looked at Tony White last year. Obviously, they hired Deshaun Foster, but Tony White played at UCLA. And I told him to stay the hell away from our coach, by the way. I wanted to fight him through the internet. It's gonna come up. We can ignore it. Don't put it out there in the universe, Adam. I didn't ask the question. I'm answering the hardest questions, the common questions, the most interesting questions here today. Ironically, the Indiana game, the second half of the Illinois game, as much as I wish they didn't go the way they did, especially for our defense, might help him stay here. I just want him to stay. I hope that makes sense. All right, I want to give a shout out to our sponsors, DPS Concrete Construction. They are your concrete experts, retaining wall experts. Check them out at dpsconstruction.net if you want this work done, dpsconstruction.net. If this is the line of work you do, Jason Armstrong is the guy to work for. Check them out at dpsconstruction.net. Also, Bonzel Pool and Spa. Check them out at bonzelpool.com. All right, it was a sad day. We closed the pool for the winter here at the Carriker Chronicles house, but they did build our pool. They also put in our hot tub. They take care of our pool. They take care of our hot tub. We don't have a sauna, but if you want a sauna or you have a sauna and you want it taken care of and or put in, it's bonzelpool.com. These are the guys. Ask for Jeff. Tell them Adam sent you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, bonzelpool.com. Next up, do you see the NCAA doing fines/punishing official crews in the future, especially when some of the issues have gotten worse? Here's my thought. Because I had somebody message me, Adam, these guys are, like, he's an official. He goes, we're trained. He goes, you have no idea how highly we're held accountable at the college level especially. Guys get fined. Some guys get suspended depending on how bad it is. Here's my thought. College football is a billion-dollar business. Coaches' jobs are on the line. This is how they put food on the table for their families. These are these guys' careers. Players' hopes and dreams and everything that they've ever worked for, everything they want to work for, is impacted by these calls as well. Okay, things they've worked for their entire lives. Nobody expects perfection from these guys. Referees are humans. Humans are flawed. Referees are going to make mistakes. We get that. Although with instant replay, there should not be many at all. But it's beyond the point of what's acceptable to me. Here's my point. When there are repercussions for referees, nobody knows what they are. So it just makes people madder. If a kid, all right, gets in a fight with another kid at school and the one kid started and the one kid pounds the other kid and the kid who beat the crap out of the other kid shows up like, I was punished, but nobody knows what happened, that just leaves you mad. Just make it public. Let people know what the fine was, just like players and coaches, by the way, what the suspension was. That might help. Just a thought. Do you think Glenn Thomas takes over the full OC position? This is via Facebook, Jason Arnett, and Satterfield goes just to tight ends, or does Sat get completely fired end of the season? Of course. Matt Rhule, again, has mentioned he doesn't like to do things with coaches, moving people around until the end of the year. I do think there's a chance, depending on how UCLA goes, we got a bye week right before USC. Maybe Glenn Thomas gets a chance, and hopefully Sat does good on Saturday, to be clear. I'm rooting for that. I'm also rooting for what's best for the team and the program. But if UCLA doesn't go great for some reason, maybe Glenn Thomas gets the bye week to work with the offense and he gets to call plays versus USC. Rhule knows Satterfield very well, coached with him for a long time. Dare I say they're friends? Okay, I don't know. Glenn Thomas has also coached with Rhule for 5 years at Temple and Baylor. Thomas has 23 years of college football and NFL coaching experience, 15 years in college football, 8 years in the NFL, and he served at the coordinator level 10 of those seasons as well. Personally, again, hopefully Saturday goes really well and we drop 90 on them. But if it doesn't, we wouldn't have to drop 90. But score a decent amount of points, look good, beat UCLA. All right, offense runs efficiently, takes care of the ball, etc. But if that doesn't happen, I personally wouldn't hate to see what Glenn Thomas can do, calling plays. He's got the background, the history, the info, and the resume for it. Next question. Adam, how's your heart condition? I appreciate you asking. For those who don't remember, so 2 years ago, my heart was going crazy. I mean, it was beating like 150, 200 beats a minute for like 3 months. And basically, I let it go for too long. I had the dumb football player mentality. I'll tough it out because that's how our heart works, and I'm a genius. End up going to the cardiologist. Basically, I was in heart failure, and had I let it go much longer, it would not have ended well. So luckily, I eventually went in. I called my parents at like 1 in the morning while I was driving home from a speaking gig, and they basically said, hey, dummy, call the doctor. And thank goodness I did the next morning. Long story short, I had AFib. They had to shock my heart back into arrhythmia. Actually, the first time they tried to do it, it wouldn't work. They had to like get sand paddles and like weigh down the shock thing, and boom. And I was scarred for like 6 months from the results of the shock. And then I was on all sorts of medication, blood thinners, there was a possibility of a stroke if I didn't take this medication. I've been good since. I have to monitor it. I talk fast. I get excited about things. But what they said is that's actually all okay now. It's stress. You got to stay away from stressful situations and stressful people. And honestly, that was just good life advice, to be real with you. But my heart's doing good as long as I do those things. And I usually take my Apple Watch off when I record the show. I don't know, it's just a distraction, but I can do an EKG if my heart's going fast. I usually do it about every other day because it tends to take off, but I'll do the EKG on the heart as long as it says, it'll say AFib, no AFib, I'll be good to go. But thank you for asking. All right, next question. Are you going to address the elephant in the room with the Big Ten issuing a statement about the missed spot of the ball? Now, first and foremost, I already addressed this. I played the clip. I talked about the clip on last Sunday night show. It annoys me when people ask me questions about things I've already put out on the show, and then they phrase it like, are you going to address the elephant in the room? I guess I'd like to suspend this guy from the mailbag. Maybe I'll do that, but I digress. Okay, I've already addressed it. A statement was issued that Matt Rhule should have never got the flags thrown on him that was thrown. So then you watch Ryan Day throw his headset, throw a fit, walk onto the field and do it, and there's no penalty thrown. That should be frickin' addressed. That's just my personal take on that. All right, here's a couple of insane stats as well. This is at 402 Nation on X. They said, since joining the league in 2011, these are the holding penalties called on the home team facing Nebraska on pass plays: Wisconsin 2011, Northwestern 2012, Minnesota 2015, Purdue 2020, Michigan State in 2023. Since 2019, there have been 13 holding calls against the opponent facing Nebraska. There has been 28 going against Nebraska in that span. You can read the rest of the tweet as it's on the screen. Just gonna let that lie there. Dylan Raiola, this is from the website. Oh, I hate this question. I remember this one now. What are the odds you think he transfers? Nobody knows. And yeah, thanks everyone for giving me the hard questions. All right, you honored that request. I look back at the Ohio State game. That was a kid that played with heart. That was a kid that played with passion. It's hard to watch that kid and think that he's not truly living out his dream playing at Nebraska. That's my answer for right now. All right, last question, and this was from the website as well. Adam, I miss your Carriker Live segments from Facebook that you did for 6 years. Are you going to do anything like that again? So if you don't know, the two shows I do are the Carriker Chronicles, also on 93.7 The Ticket, theticketfm.com, 12 to 1 p.m. Central Time. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, I am live on The Ticket, and we take questions, all right? And I will answer them live on the air. I'm actually live 4 days a week now. You can watch it on YouTube, podcast platforms, The Ticket's X and Facebook, and all over the place. All you got to do is tune in, send me all the questions. I'm live. We'll respond to your questions there. I'm live and interactive. I've had people walk in the middle of the show multiple times this year. I love it. I love the unpredictability of being live. All right, here's one more random stat. Kurt Cignetti is the first ever D1 coach to start 8-0 in consecutive seasons at different schools. 10-0 last year at JMU, 8-0 this year at Indiana. Just thought that was interesting. Congratulations. All right, here are my 3 questions for you fine folks at home. Let me know your answer and thoughts in the comments below. Number 1, what do you believe Nebraska's final record will be this year? I know we're supposed to take it one game at a time, but do you think they're going to, just let me know, 5-7, 6-6, 7-5, 8-4, 9-3? Number 2, for those of us who want to take it one game at a time, how important do you believe this UCLA game is on a scale of 1 to 10? 1, not that important. 10, uber important, must win. Let me know your answer in the comments below. Number 3, do you believe referees and officials, when they're fined and disciplined, that info should be made more public? Not to humiliate them, but it's no different than players and coaches, just accountable. All right, until next time, go Big Red Nose. Remember to throw the bug.